Some conversations just echo through time, right? Their wisdom is as real today as it was centuries ago. And in this explainer, we're going to uncover some of these truly timeless lessons on love, family, and how to deal with change. And get this, it all comes from a single powerful conversation from over 200 years ago. Okay, let's dive in. Just imagine hearing those words. Tomorrow, you take a wife, and as your mother, I must speak with you. Whew, that's a statement that is just packed with love, with responsibility, and really the weight of generations. That's how Maria Dorothea Spangler kicks off this crucial conversation with her son, Daniel, and it pulls us right into a moment that's literally going to shape the rest of his life. So to really get this, you have to picture where we are. We're in early America. The country's still brand new, and for families like the Spanglers, life is this real mix of old-world German heritage and the tough realities of the New World. So this isn't just some casual chat. No, it's a huge cultural moment, and it's all happening in a very specific time and place. And the stakes here? They couldn't be higher, really. Daniel's about to start his own family. His dad has passed away, which means Dorothea is now the sole keeper of their family's wisdom. This isn't just a mom giving some pointers. This is the passing of a legacy, plain and simple. So, what's the very first, the most fundamental piece of advice she gives him? Well, it's surprisingly modern, and honestly, it's incredibly powerful. She starts right at the foundation of his new life, his marriage. Now, this is what's so fascinating. Dorothea just lays this huge contrast right out on the table. She totally acknowledges the old European way of thinking, right? Where a wife's role was basically to obey. But then she immediately pivots to the harsh reality of their life in America, where survival has nothing to do with obedience. It's all about an active, thinking partnership. And that line right there, that's the absolute core of her thinking. For Dorothea, a partner who just nods and says, "Yes, my husband," isn't a partner at all. She knew hardship was coming. It was just a fact of life. And when a crisis hits, and believe me, she knew it would, you don't need someone who just follows orders. You need an ally. You need someone who can think, decide, and act right there with you. So the really crucial takeaway here is this. We're talking over 200 years ago, and this mother's main piece of advice was a totally radical call for respect and equality in a marriage. And it wasn't just about feelings or being nice. It was about survival. It was about strength. It was about building a life that could actually withstand, well, anything. All right, so from that foundation of partnership, Dorothea moves on to something else. A problem that, let's be honest, so many of us still struggle with today. How do you honor where you come from while you're trying to build a new future for yourself? Well, she insists on these very tangible, very specific German wedding customs. But you have to look closer, because they're not just empty rituals. No way. Each one is packed with meaning. You've got rosemary pinned to his coat. That's for fidelity. Stepping over the threshold together, that's for good fortune. Carrying something borrowed connects his new wife to the family line. And throwing silver coins, that's to ensure they have a prosperous future. They're like these little threads, connecting the present all the way back to the past. And this whole idea, it doesn't just stop at the wedding. It goes right into their daily life. She talks about keeping the German kitchen, and what she means is their whole identity, the food, the language, their culture. But Dorothea is also super practical. She tells Daniel, look, if there are American ways that work better, that are more efficient, you use them. It's about being smart, not just sentimental. And that quote, that is the absolute heart of her whole philosophy. We adapt to prosper, but we don't forget who we are. That's a masterclass in navigating cultures, isn't it? She's saying progress doesn't mean you have to erase your identity. You can hold on to your roots and still grow in new soil. Man, that is wisdom that hits home, especially in the world we live in today. Okay, so finally, Dorothea turns her gaze forward to the future. She's thinking about the generations to come and the really tough choices her son is going to make sure their legacy continues. Her advice about raising kids is so thoughtful. First, she touches on the anxiety of even starting a family, telling him to be patient. But then she pivots right back to that key theme, balance. She says, yes, raise them to be good, successful Americans, but you have to make sure they don't forget they're German Americans. They need to know the stories, the language, the strength of the people they come from. And then she says this. And honestly, this line is just breathtaking. It's so generous, so courageous. Don't let an old woman's tears keep you here. That is the emotional core of this entire conversation. Dorothea knows that for Daniel to really thrive, he might need to move west to find better opportunities. And she gives him the greatest gift a parent can give: permission to leave. She's putting his future way ahead of her own comfort. So her final blessing, it isn't a command to stay close to home. Not at all. It's a charge to go out and make his own way. She's telling him the real legacy isn't the piece of land they're standing on, it's the values they carry inside them. Thrift, hard work, faith. She's empowering him to be independent, and she's trusting that the lessons she's taught him are enough. So the big question is, why? Why does this conversation from a farmhouse in Pennsylvania back in 1815, why does it still speak to us so clearly today? Let's just break down the big, enduring lessons here. And her final act is to give Daniel a small prayer book, not for him, but for his new wife, Elizabeth. And this is so much more than just a religious book. It's a symbolic welcome. It's her way of passing on a source of strength, of connecting Elizabeth to this long line of resilient women who came before her. It's a beautiful act of inclusion, really. So when you boil it all down, the takeaways are just universal, aren't they? First, treat your partner as a true equal. Second, find that balance between respecting tradition and having the guts to adopt. Third, build a future that honors your roots. And finally, remember that family bonds, well, they can stretch across any distance. You see, Dorothea gave her son a roadmap, one that was built from her own life, her own experiences. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? Every family has its own kind of unwritten book of wisdom, passed down in conversations just like this one. So the question for all of us, really, is what's the wisdom from your past that guides your future? What lessons do you carry with you, and how do they shape the path you choose to walk?